A tasty chip, a rich dessert of milk and cherries, and a hearty bowl of pasta. Sounds like a delicious meal. But the dark truth is all three of these items led to a painful death. How could this happen? Find out on today's episode of The Infographic Show. Student ate 5-day-old pasta. This is how he died. And other bizarre food deaths. Number 11. Death at Disney. Disney World isn't just a massive city-sized theme park, it's a little slice of heaven on earth for gourmets. You can find just about any cuisine there, as well as any price point. Many of the top restaurants are at Disney Springs, a sprawling shopping and dining district that's home to one of the most popular eateries in Orlando, Raglan Road. This bustling Irish pub-themed eatery is filled with loud Celtic music and happy diners digging into classics like fish and chips and lamb stew. In 2023, Jeffrey J. Piccolo and his wife, Dr. Kanaukporn Sanswan, decided to get a taste of the Emerald Isle, so naturally that's where they went for dinner. But their night was about to take a terrifying turn. Sangswan had allergies, so she asked several times about whether these could be accommodated. Disney tends to be very attentive to allergies, posting info on their website and even offering printed guides to guests dining at the buffet. The server assured the couple that the items would be allergen-free, so the couple ordered an assortment of dishes including broccoli and corn fritters, scallops, onion rings, and a vegan shepherd's pie. As the dishes arrived, they dug in, seemingly enjoying every bite. After finishing their meal, the couple decided to explore different areas of the district, heading off in separate directions. And that's when disaster struck. Sangswan had a severe allergic reaction, triggering anaphylaxis that quickly compromised her ability to breathe. Although she used her EpiPen and 911 was called, she died at the hospital. And that led to some serious questions about what exactly went wrong. Piccolo immediately sued over the tragic death of his wife and pointed out irregularities. Some of the items arrived without the allergy-friendly flags that other items had, but the server assured them they would be fine. Complicating things, Raglan Road is not technically a Disney restaurant. Though it operates on Disney property, this restaurant, like many at Disney Springs, is independently owned and possibly manages its allergen policy differently. However, Disney has the allergen listing for the restaurant on its website, so that could be seen as them endorsing how the restaurant runs things. Piccolo waited for Disney's response to the lawsuit, and what they said garnered worldwide attention. The company alleged that Piccolo had waived his right to file a lawsuit and would have to go through binding arbitration, which would dramatically limit his rights to financial damages. And the reason was this: he had waived his right to a lawsuit when he signed up for a free trial of the Disney Plus streaming service and when he used the website to buy park tickets. Clicking the terms to agree is mandatory when using the websites, and many people argued that this was coercion and it wouldn't hold up in court. And on a less legally minded stand, many people expressed shock that Disney would argue that you can't sue if they kill your wife because you watched The Mandalorian. Ultimately, Disney dropped the claim for dismissal due to mass public outcry, and the lawsuit is ongoing. It's still unclear exactly which food item was the culprit that killed Dr. Tang Swan. Deaths from allergens are all too common, but from chips, less so. Number 10. Spice overload. When it comes to spicy food, many people take it as a challenge. After all, we've all been to a wing place that offers a wing flavor called thermonuclear explosion or flamethrower colonic, making you sign a waiver before you can try it. In recent years, there's been a massive boom in specialty spicy products. A chain called Pepper Palace has made a name for itself by selling fiery creations like ghost pepper popcorn and gummy bears. And it's even become common for influencers to film themselves doing challenges featuring these items, with thousands of people laughing online as they struggle through it. But there is one item more infamous than any other. The Pocky One Chip Challenge is exactly what it sounds like: a single individually packed tortilla chip coated in a lethal amount of fiery seasonings made from some of the spiciest peppers on earth. In fact, it is so intensely covered that it looks black. The challenge is to eat it without drinking and see how long you can go without consuming anything else. Naturally, it became extremely popular with teenagers, and the chips flew off the shelves despite the ridiculous $10 price tag. Because when has value ever stopped teenagers from doing something crazy? But pretty soon it all came crashing down. The idea that the chip could be harmful was already out there. Many of the videos showed people gasping for air and water after trying to eat it, and the human body isn't meant to handle something this spicy. Several teenagers sought medical attention after eating it in 2022. The true danger of the challenge became evident in 2023 when Massachusetts team Harris Wobala decided to give it a go. After eating the chip, he struggled to keep it down, and then suffered a massive heart attack that proved fatal. But there was more to the story, though. Wobala had a congenital heart defect, putting him at a higher risk of cardiac events. The stress of eating something so painfully spicy was too much for his heart. This didn't necessarily mean that the chip was inherently dangerous, but the family argued that the mere fact that this chip could kill someone with a heart defect meant it shouldn't have been on the shelf. After all, the right number of people for a novelty chip to kill is 0. Many other people who ate it reported lasting mouth pain and digestive issues in the days after, and all of that spelled the end for the world's spiciest chip. The lawsuit filed was not necessarily going to succeed, but the bad PR the company got from the event did more than enough damage. Stores pulled the Pocky One chip challenge off the shelves, and the company soon followed. In 2024, the entire Pocky brand, owned by Hershey, was discontinued. While the lawsuit is still ongoing, it's likely Hershey will opt for an out-of-court settlement to distance itself from the tragic incident and avoid further controversy. But the poor kid didn't know what he was getting into, unlike these spice maniacs. Number 9. Chili Kill-Off. Boys will be boys, and that applies to when the boys are grown men too. When guys start taunting each other, ridiculous things happen. Countless hospital visits have ensued after one guy told another, "I bet you're too chicken to." One of the most common topics for dares involves eating something ridiculous, be it a gross bug or a food that is just too spicy. But in the UK, 2 guys took it way too far. Andrew Lee was a forklift driver but also fancied himself an aspiring cook who liked the spicier things in life. And we mean really spicy. Andrew's hobby was growing chilies at his home with his father. He would use them to make a sauce that was more pain than flavor. This was in 2008, before the real boom in the super hot products took off. But the 33-year-old Edlington man was ahead of the curve. He was visiting his girlfriend when he and her brother got into a back and forth, and then Andrew dared the other man to eat a spoonful of his dangerously spicy sauce. And then, just to prove that he was up to the task, he ate an entire plate of it himself. This was the result of the 2 men having a contest to create the spiciest chili sauce. Naturally, Andrew won. Sadly, his only prize would be an abrupt end. Andrew ate a full meal alongside the spicy sauce, and he was feeling it later in the day. As he got ready to go to bed for the night, he complained that he was unusually itchy and decided to sleep it off. But when it came time to wake up the next morning, he couldn't be roused. He had died in his sleep, and the prime suspect was the chili sauce. His girlfriend called an ambulance, but they weren't able to revive the unfortunate amateur chef. Lee was healthy and had previously passed a physical at work, so there were likely no underlying health conditions. An autopsy revealed that he had died of cardiac arrest, which seems to be a rare complication of eating absurdly spicy food in some circumstances, but mostly in cases where there's an underlying health condition. And that's led doctors to issue a warning. Chili peppers have become an arms race in the culinary community, with growers competing to create the spiciest in the world. The result is peppers that often resemble biological weapons rather than spices. Just touching them can cause burning on the skin, and if they get in your eyes, expect a whole world of pain. Those who eat them can suffer intestinal distress, and in rare cases, these bombs of flavor and fire can go off like a grenade and cause a heart attack. Better drink up some water after that, but not too much. Number 8. Bottoms up. If there's one dining experience that comes with real risks, it's an eating competition. These over-the-top contests are often handled by professional eaters, but amateur competitions are far more risky. There's the chance of choking from eating too fast, with pancakes being infamously deadly in these competitions. There's also the risk of an untrained stomach rupturing. Although this is rare, the person will normally throw up before it gets that far. And then there's the guy who died after eating too many cockroaches and choking on their many, many pointy little legs. But did someone really die of water? In 2007, a California radio station decided to take advantage of the craze over the new Wii video game system by offering a unique competition. Hold your Wii for a Wii. It challenged competitors to drink as much water as possible without going to the bathroom. The person with the strongest bladder would get a new game console. Jennifer Strange, a 28-year-old mother of 3, was determined to win it for her kids. She pushed herself to the limit, downing a shocking 7 quarts of water to outlast the competition. But her victory would be short-lived. Soon afterward, she started feeling awful, and she called into work sick after the competition. She went home to lie down and was soon found dead that evening. The culprit was something most people have never even heard of: water poisoning, also known as hyperhydration. Drinking too much water at one time screws up the delicate chemical balance of our bloodstream. This causes serious symptoms that affect the heart, lungs, and even the brain, and it can be fatal. While it's rare, it has been known to happen by accident, usually when someone overheats and drinks too much water too quickly in an attempt to cool down. And the fallout from this tragedy was swift. Strange's family tried to raise awareness of the tragedy and advocate for more people to be aware of the dangers of water intoxication. Naturally, all eyes fell on the studio that authorized the competition. While all eating and drinking competitions have their risks, this one had more dangers than most, and the axe fell quickly. 10 employees of the radio station were let go for authorizing the competition, and the local sheriff's department opened an investigation into the death. One of the DJs reportedly admitted that they should have done more research, and reportedly one caller even called in to warn the station that the contest could kill someone. But sometimes you can't save someone from their own foolishness. Number 7. Egg me on. As a famous Disney villain once put it, when he was a lad he ate 4 dozen eggs every morning to help him get tall. But this is not recommended, to put it lightly. The chicken products are part of a balanced breakfast, but they are high in cholesterol and best enjoyed in moderation. To which some dudes had no doubt said, "Moderation, what's that? We got a competition to win." And that's exactly what happened in the Indian province of Uttar Pradesh in 2019. And at the end, only one was left standing. But not how they hoped. 42-year-old Subhash Yadav was spending the day at the Bibiganj market in Jaunpur when he got into an argument with his friend. It's not clear what the argument was about, but it somehow escalated into the two of them making a bet for 4,000 rupees, equivalent to $46. They decided to settle their beef the only way men could, by eating as many eggs as they could. 50, in fact. A number inspired by the iconic movie Cool Hand Luke, where the imprisoned lead character wowed and disgusted everyone in sight. But alas, Hollywood is not reality. Yadav impressed everyone as he displayed a near supernatural ability to consume eggs, especially for someone who wasn't a professional eater. It was all going well as he approached the final stretch, popping his 42nd hard-boiled egg. And that was all she wrote. He passed out and was rushed to a nearby hospital where doctors no doubt tried to pump his stomach. But can you even pump something that is likely just full of solid egg matter at this point? Sadly, the bold Mr. Yadav passed away in the hospital. But what was the culprit? Yadav's family didn't comment on the case, but it's estimated that the amount of eggs he was trying to eat may have reached up to 6 pounds, and this would put an enormous amount of pressure on the stomach. Competitive eaters often train to stretch their stomachs for months before they compete, slowly increasing their capacity through training feasts. Yadav had no such training, and even if his stomach didn't burst, eggs are fairly infamous for being dangerous to eat. They're firm and slippery, and they can easily get lodged in the throat, resulting in choking. But whatever the case, Yadav pushed his body way too far. Of course, for those who dedicate themselves to eating absurd amounts of food, this is nothing. Joshua Cotreau, a competitive eater, once ate a whopping 143 eggs in one sitting. But not only does he do this for a living, we're betting he got paid a lot more to do this than the unfortunate Mr. Yadav. And sometimes it's just important to keep your wits about you when eating and drinking. Number 6. Sticky situation. Not even celebrities are immune from bizarre deaths related to food. One of them was Sherwood Anderson, an eccentric American novelist and short story writer in the early 20th century. Known for his highly personal narratives, he never became a massive bestseller, although his 1925 New Orleans narrative Dark Laughter did become a hit. He had many careers over his life, struggled with mental health, and eventually became an avid traveler as he got older. And he reportedly had a taste for the fine things in life. That would spell his end. In 1941, he was 64 and traveling on a cruise to South America. All seemed to be going well, but suddenly he suffered intense abdominal distress. While most cases of gastrointestinal illness on a cruise might be chalked up to viruses spreading in the buffet, his symptoms only got worse. Could it be appendicitis, which would require emergency surgery? He and his wife ultimately decided to cut their cruise short, disembarking early to seek medical help in the aptly named Colón, located in Panama. But the doctors were unable to diagnose the cause of his illness, and he died on March 8th. And the autopsy would reveal some unexpected things. The first autopsy revealed the cause of death was peritonitis, which is a severe inflammation of the lining of the abdomen. It can be caused by infection or by foreign objects, and that is exactly what was found after a more thorough investigation. It turned out that the subject of Anderson's agonizing death was a toothpick, accidentally swallowed at some point, that had wormed its way through his digestive system. Today, it could have been found by advanced imagery and removed with surgery, but options were limited back then. But how did it get there? The actual case of Sherwood Anderson's death has never been determined, but the prevailing theory is that Anderson was enjoying a drink on his cruise, likely a martini served with an olive on a short toothpick. While maybe a bit drunk, he swallowed the olive and the toothpick with it. The toothpick slid down his throat into his digestive tract and wedged itself inside his stomach, eventually leading to the fatal ailment that struck him down. And not even the most famous man in the world is safe when the munchies hit. Number 5. Hail to the Chief. In the 19th century, it was much more common for the president to die in office. Assassinations were a frequent fear, of course, but several also died from ailments or natural causes. After all, most of the presidents were older men, and medical care was not at its peak in the 1800s. The first president to die in office, William Henry Harrison, succumbed to a nasty virus after catching it at a Chile inauguration, dying after only 30 days in office. The 12th president of the United States, Zachary Taylor, managed to last slightly longer than that, dying after just over 15 months in office. But it was the circumstances of his death that raised more attention. Taylor was one of the older presidents at the time, being elected at the ripe old age of 64. He was also a man who had a taste for the finer things in life. In 1850, he was attending a fundraising event for one of the biggest projects Washington, D.C. had ever seen, the Washington Monument. He started to indulge in one of the treats on offer, cherries and iced milk. From those who were there at the time, the president surprised everyone with just how much he ate. He gorged on the free food and drink, and unfortunately, he would pay for it dearly. While he seemed in good spirits after leaving the party, he would soon take ill with a digestive ailment that initially resembled gastroenteritis, an inflammation of the digestive tract. It seemed like a minor illness, and he continued working, but his condition soon worsened and he took to his bed. Army physician Alexander Witherspoon soon diagnosed him with cholera morbus, a general description for ailments that include diarrhea and dysentery. While it wasn't clear what caused his illness, it's believed by many that the combination of the cold milk and the cherries may have caused the digestive issues, and he would soon take a sharp downhill turn. He soon developed a severe fever and seemed to know the end was coming. After he died and was succeeded by Millard Fillmore, he was generally regarded as a decent president, although rumors persisted about the strange nature of his death. Was it just a case of an old man eating himself into an early grave, or was it something more sinister? Taylor was seen as less than sympathetic to the demands of the pro-slavery South, and his successor, Millard Fillmore, was more willing to compromise. While investigations into a possible poisoning or assassination were carried out, no proof was ever found of another culprit besides ice, milk, and cherries. And sometimes the cause of death is even more of a mystery. Number 4. Your toast. 75-year-old Welsh woman Vera Williams was a frequent flyer at the local hospital in Rhyl due to severe heart disease and other ailments. But a new pain had cropped up. Vera visited the hospital on 3 different occasions, each time claiming that it felt like something was digging into the inside of her throat. Most of the doctors sent her home, but on October 23, 2015, Dr. Adedeji Adeleke looked a little deeper and believed there might be an infection in her neck. She was prescribed antibiotics and sent home, and things only got worse from there. The next day, she returned to the hospital, this time in an ambulance, and she was coughing up blood. For the first time, she was given x-rays and a CT scan, and she was found to have a massive bleed in her esophagus, one that had been leaking blood into her stomach. While it might have been possible to operate in some circumstances, Williams' severe heart disease meant it was likely she would die on the operating table due to the stresses on her body. She was given palliative care and died a few days later in the hospital. And now the investigation would begin. What went wrong here? The hospital took a lot of heat in the immediate aftermath for how little care Williams got from the various doctors she saw. Patient advocates said that she should have been given scans right from the start, which might have detected the bleed while she could have been saved. But there was still a larger question. What the heck happened here? What could have torn open this poor old woman's throat? Would you believe the culprit was a piece of toast? The investigation showed that at some point Miss Williams had eaten a piece of toast with a sharp edge, which went down the wrong way, with the point tearing her gullet. While most people would have tried to spit it out at that point, it's likely Williams tried to swallow it down. This only worsened the damage as the cut went deeper and deeper into her digestive tract, and by the time she realized something was very wrong, it was too late, and it went undetected until it was too late to save her. So maybe listen to mom and chew your food carefully before you swallow. This next chef didn't even get to enjoy his sumptuous meal. Number 3. Wrong ingredient. There's nothing more challenging than cooking for a group, especially if it's a massive party like a wedding. Not only do you have to prepare dishes that everyone will enjoy, but you've got to prepare them in massive amounts that can be challenging for even the most experienced cook. It's a task best done with a lot of help and by chefs with experience cooking in a professional setting, which is why most weddings use professional caterers. But even when everything is planned, something can always go horribly wrong. And it certainly did in 2021 in Iraq. Isa Ismail was preparing food for a wedding at the Hazel Hall for Weddings and Events, and the centerpiece of the wedding feast was to be a massive vat of chicken soup. Ismail was an experienced chef cooking for around 8 years, and he was used to making large amounts of food. But today, luck was not on his side. The vat was so large that he would essentially perch himself over it to taste it and to add seasonings. And as he stretched himself out to get it completely right, he fell over and landed directly in the soup. While this might sound like a comic stunt that would usually result in laughs on a sitcom, it was anything but. The soup was scalding hot, and Mr. Ismail ultimately suffered third-degree burns on the majority of his body. He was taken to a nearby hospital, where he ultimately succumbed to his injuries. Tributes poured in for the acclaimed party chef, and people advocated for more safety measures to be added to restaurants and kitchens to ensure no one else fell into soup. It was a rare case of chicken soup actually making someone's health worse. But how could a plate of pasta spell someone's end? Number 2. 5 days late and $1 short. We've all had those days when we're not feeling like cooking and the budget is getting a little tight, so we decide to just go ahead and eat some leftovers from the fridge. Sure, it's been a few days since you put it in there, but there's nothing growing on it and it still smells pretty good. What could go wrong? Well, it turns out kind of a lot. Microscopic bacteria are growing all over your food, and they can create toxins without you having any idea. And the next thing you know, your busy schedule has changed to cradling the toilet until the food poisoning passes. But that is just the start, as one unfortunate young man found out. It was Belgium in 2023 when a young man had the munchies and he thought the spaghetti lying on the counter looked pretty good. Sure, it had been sitting there for 5 days, but he could reheat it quickly and it would still be tasty. And it probably was, but the next thing he knew, he was down for the count with a dangerous bacteria named Bacillus cereus that grows easily on food. To make it worse, this bacteria is heat-resistant and it can't be easily destroyed by cooking, so it can linger in the food for a long time. This was apparently a severe enough dose that he was hit with a wave of vomiting, abdominal pain, and severe headaches. And he was found dead in his bed the next morning. And this phenomenon is so common that it even has a nickname. Doctors call it fried rice syndrome because the Chinese food staple is one of those items that winds up in the fridge days after the initial order. While those leftovers might taste delicious, they can actually be deadly. Fried rice, cold pizza, and leftover spaghetti can all turn hazardous if they aren't properly refrigerated. Once food sits above 40 degrees Fahrenheit for more than 4 hours, it enters the danger zone between 40 and 140 degrees Fahrenheit where bacteria thrive, and that's when it needs to be thrown out. Many doctors say that food safety should be another course added to How to Adult, but maybe no one missed a spot check like this woman. Number 1. A not-so-healthy salad. Gardening can be an activity filled with joy and rewards, but it can also be frustrating. You're at the mercy of the weather, some crops just don't come out like you want them to, and then there's the pests. You never know when bugs, birds, or small mammals will break into your garden and start eating away at your precious crops. That's exactly what was happening to Rekha Nishad, a Mumbai woman in her late 20s, when she was trying to grow tomatoes. Rats kept sneaking into her plants and nibbling away at them, and she was sick of it, so she laced her plants with injected rat poison and waited for the pests to die. But there would be a casualty caught in the crossfire. That night, she was making Maggi noodles while watching TV and absent-mindedly mixed in some extra ingredients. The noodles seemed delicious, but hours after dinner she became violently ill, vomiting and eventually passing away from organ failure. The culprit was, you guessed it, the rat poison. While cooking without paying her full attention, she grabbed the wrong tomatoes, the ones she had deliberately tainted, and added them to her own food. And while it was a tragedy in her local village, the rats probably breathed a sigh of relief. Which of these food-related deaths shocked you the most? Have you ever had a close call with something you ate? Let us know in the comments. These foods probably won't kill you, but they won't be easy to find. So watch 20 US foods you never knew were illegal to eat for details on what you won't find at your grocery store, or watch this video instead.